Hour number one, though, is going to be the celebration of a team that continues to show fight, resiliency, and most importantly, continues to show growth. And now it's maybe starting to show consistency, especially Jayden Daniels, who, for the second game in a row, in my opinion, Jake, is the story of this game. Nearly 400 more total yards. Was it 5 more touchdowns, I think, by the end of the day, or was it 4 total? I got to double check. The numbers are starting to get so exorbitant with this guy that they're just piling on top of each other. You may not even realize. Like what was one of the main questions we kept asking last week? If you created the Daniels scale, and it was 5 more.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was Auburn, and there was Florida. Could you be closer to Florida? And I was like, give me like a 7. If Florida's a 10, give me like a 7, and I'll be happy. He went straight back to 10 mode. And look at what happened. And you heard Brian Kelly talk about it after the game. So I'm getting a little excited. Jake, welcome in. Mario, Danny, great to see the boys. But just a fantastic weekend for the Tiger football team.
What's up, fellas?
Yeah, what's up, dude? Oh, I get it. Okay, it took me a second. Yeah, where's Mincy at? So Mincy
just MIA.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like a winner and a loser this weekend. We can get to all that in a little bit. But, yeah, what a win for LSU. A dominant win. The second half, I mean, we could spend 3 hours on just the second half alone. The adjustments, offense and defensively, what they did. The stadium was back. It felt great to be inside Tiger Stadium.
So you were at the game?
Yes.
How was it?
It was really good. It was really good. I mean, it felt like it had gotten back to a point that it hasn't really been in probably 2 years. And some of that's probably warranted. But now you got a game where you should be just full bonkers.
Yes, it's and make no mistake, I don't want to talk Alabama yet, but obviously that's going to be a night game because we assume, I don't know if it's made official or not yet, or maybe they do that today or tomorrow, but Tennessee, Georgia, going to be that 2:30 game, and that means that LSU Bama is perfectly posed to be a night game in Tiger Stadium. But let's talk about Ole Miss first, right? Because the beginning of that game was a bit terrifying. In that Ole Miss came out and I was someone who I think was like, I think you were much more confident in LSU's ability to stop Ole Miss. I was not. I think a lot of people were more confident than I was. I was very scared, and so to me, I was feeling a bit like, oh no, dude. When at the beginning of that game they come out, they go 70 yards in 5 plays, make it look easy. They come out, go 75 yards in what felt like 5 or 6 plays, not even blinking. I mean, Jake, they weren't just gaining. They were gaining in chunks, and it wasn't like they were having to make contested catches or everything. Everything was just coming so easily, and so it was a bit terrifying. I mean, you didn't even force a third down halfway through the first quarter, and the next thing you know, it's 17-3. Like they score. You drive the ball well, and it was a sign of things to come because the O-line was run blocking really well. Josh Williams running hard. You drive the ball well. You fail to get in the end zone, and it was one of those deals where you were so close, right? You missed the deep ball when Brian Thomas, dude, he had that boy cooked by about, like, you should not, on the D1 level, you should not be able to get that much separation in that short of a route. Like, there wasn't even that much field to work with, and he had him beat by like a full 5-6 yards. You missed that throw, no touchdown. It draws a penalty, which Brian Thomas did a lot of. You barely miss the Kayshawn touchdown. And then you barely miss Malik, which great play by the DB. Pushes him out so that his toes missed by about 4 inches. So, for them to score, you to get that close and not score, and they immediately, 17-3, it felt awful. But, Jake, it was at that time that everything changed. And what did you see out of this LSU team that you think was the biggest maybe reason for that change?
Well, one of the things Ole Miss did is they came out throwing the football. Yeah. And we talked all week, okay, if you lose, you have to make sure that it's Jackson Dart throwing the football that does it because you have to stop the run. Well, Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, they're smart football players and coaches. They knew that as well. So they put a lot on Jackson Dart at the beginning of the game, and he was delivering. I mean, the pass that he hit Domingo down there to get to the goal line, that was a hell of a throw. And so he was doing the things he had to do initially to put Ole Miss in that position. And you weren't far off on offense like you just laid out there, T. So you knew there was plays to be made. And then you settled down. It got to 14-3, and then it gets to 17-3. But then at that point, because that series where they got the field goal, you held them to the field goal. It was 9 plays, 61 yards. You felt like, yeah, it was. And you felt like you got some momentum there, and you started to figure out exactly what they wanted to do, and then the offense caught up to you. So I think initially you got down because you were expecting one thing, just like the Auburn game, and we talked about it. Like, you're expecting them to run. They come out, they throw the football. You have to adjust. And, look, I understand you don't want to start getting down 17-0, 17-3 before you make those adjustments, but the other team, in both cases, you got to tip your cap. They have done the thing that you said, if you beat us, you have to do, and they have.
Yes.
And then you execute, your game plan, and then you have to adjust to the part that they're having success with, and I thought they did a really nice job of that. But, I mean, this defense, man, the way that they can, within a game, kind of recreate themselves is really impressive
Pretty
at the
wild.
college level.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of times in-game adjustments are kind of an overblown concept in that people think there's some sort of magic speech or magic wrinkle that's going to make everything work. And sometimes I find myself kind of eye-rolling a bit at that, but Matt House is kind of making it seem like he has these magic wrinkles and these magic decisions. And we'll hear from Kelly a bit later post-game. He's playing a bit coy, basically saying, like, I'm not going to tell you all about the adjustments because it's a secret. But it's a cool quote he's just talking about. He's like, just know that sometimes we think we're bad at something and we're not actually that bad at it, right? So we just got to trust ourselves.
Well, it's almost like you're a fighter and you're like just trying to figure out how they're going to attack you.
Yeah.
And you know that you can take a couple of shots and you're like, okay, I got a chin. I can take some of these, and then you become the counterpuncher, but you're trying to figure out the style of the fight first. Now, it's not a recipe for success for many. And in fact, you get a little nervous because LSU's done this 13-0 Mississippi State win, 17-0, and this 17-3 that we've laid out there. All wins for LSU. I know it's not, and even the Florida State game.
Yeah.
Florida State, you get down. I mean, you should have sent that game into overtime. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, that's not going to continue to work. It's not going to continue to work. It continues to work.
Well, and it's kind of crazy, Jake. You mentioned stopping, prioritizing stopping what the opponent does best. And they did that. They held this Ole Miss team to 116 rush yards. This is a team that's, fourth in the country, top 5 in the country, averaging nearly 300 yards per game. Yeah. And so it doesn't matter that you gave up 288 through the air. It especially doesn't matter because 200 of that came in the first half. So you shut down both sides in the second half. But how it worked is you prioritized stopping their strength, and then you had to adjust in game, like Jake said, to figure out how to stop their relative weakness. And you did that. And it seemed like the way to stop the weakness in this case, Jake, was to just beat the hell out of the opposing quarterback, as Jackson Dart was feeling this LSU team. And partially it's because they like to run him a lot, and so he's opened up to a lot of contact there. But also the pass rush started to get home, and Harold Perkins continues to make plays. But when you started to see, yes, Dart missed one early on. That was just a bad, wide-open miss, a bomb, deep ball. But
bingo, yeah.
The later misses, to me, I'm crediting the LSU defense with, because those were obvious misses where he was uncomfortable. He had been hit a lot. He was starting to get a little inaccurate. Yep. He was starting to trust himself less and less and less. The clock was speeding up internally in his head. And that's the type of knock-on effect that just being physical has. And then obviously there's the prime direct example on the Joe Fouché pick, right? Where Baskerville's in his hip. He tries to still throw it. Because of that, the physics get thrown off on the throw, and then Fouché makes a great, you got to finish that play, right? You adjust somehow. They don't review the fourth down spot, which was wild. It looks like Ole Miss may score, and that was a turning point. You got to make that play, and Fouché one-handed found a way to do it. Credit Baskerville for setting him up.
I know when you go fast like that, too, sometimes you don't even get to review a spot or a play, and you're trying to get on the ball, and the refs are used to that as well. There was a play in the Cincinnati game yesterday, same thing for the Bengals. It looked like they got it, but they didn't even wait for them to try to figure out if it was a first down or not, because they wanted to get on the ball and go fast. So sometimes that can hurt you there. And you're right. I mean, they missed – the one he missed, Domingo, they were in quarters, and they were playing a lot of quarters coverage at the beginning of the game, kind of, again, trying to maybe figure out what exactly Ole Miss was going to do. But once they really changed that, and how about the quote from Lane Kiffin Lane Kiffin was asked what LSU did to change and stop Ole Miss's offense, and he said they started playing 40 more, which I thought they probably would eventually do because he isn't like anything else out there.
Oh, no, he did it. So Lane Kiffin directly feeding into the Harold Perkins hype.
Yep.
Which, of course, why not, dude? The dude is just a game changer. I mean, I know correlation does not always equal causation, all that, but like, wasn't he not really in on the first 2 drives? And then I want to say he played nearly every play after that. It felt like
I think it was 6 plays in the first quarter or something. I had to find my notes. I have somewhere, but
the results speak for themselves at a certain point.
And again, like we're not there every single day for practice, and I don't know what the practice looks like, but I do know that 40's a gamer as well. Yes. And I know there's instincts that he has, even maybe if he's not technically in the right spot or he's kind of adjacent to where he's supposed to be. He is so athletic and so headsy on the field that he makes himself right.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have another SEC coach, when they asked you, hey, you scored 20 points, you didn't score anything in the second half, you threw for 88 yards in the second half, like what's the difference? And he says they started playing 40 more.
Bro, he's out here as an 18-year-old true freshman strong-arming SEC offensive tackles. Like they think he's about to speed rush them, and he's posting them up with his inside hand and driving them backwards. You know how hard that is to do? When he misses the sack on Dart, and then like some sort of like predator just immediately swallows him back up.
That was crazy.
Doesn't fall down, keeps his feet, redirects. It's like
I mean, Lane Kiffin said it. He said because he isn't like anyone else out there.
Okay, look, I want to talk more about Perkins and maybe specifically the penalty because I have some takes therein. And let's also look. God, there's a lot of guys to celebrate, right? Josh Williams continues to be fantastic. Armani Goodwin looked great in his return. A great game by the offensive line. And Jayden Daniels still deserves, I think, more roses as well. So we'll get back and continue to discuss this game. Keep it locked right here on OTB. Do you say so? Sage Ryan played more plays than Harold Perkins did?
Yes, I mean obviously they play different positions, but it's just like you said, T. Because I think Harold Perkins flashes so many times that you're like, oh, well, he was out there all game long. Now, after the first part of it, because
did he actually play?
He played 37.
What?
Yeah. So your leaders were Mekhi Wingo and Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché at 79. And just kind of give you an idea, like, B.J. Ojulari, he only played 57, which is low for him. Jay Ward, 51. Greg Penn, 49. Sage Ryan, 43. Harold Perkins only played 37 snaps.
Okay. Well, the thing about Perkins is in his snaps, you continue to feel him. Like, he really does flash. Now, the one of the other guys you mentioned there, Mekhi Wingo, I think it's very tough for interior defensive linemen to flash in the same way because a lot of times they're just having to do the dirty work.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, the trio of Wingo, Guillory, and Jaquelin Roy continue to play very well and continue to play very hard as they are asked to play a ton of plays. And look, they got to hold up the interior to stop the rush game. They got to press the interior when the opponent's passing the ball to set up the defensive ends, like Harold Perkins and everybody else. And they have been simply like, if you did, Jake, where would this team be without Mekhi Wingo this year? Like for all the transfers you got and everything, he is actually objectively. I mean, obviously Jayden is the one because he's a quarterback, so he's kind of set up even to have a bigger impact. But outside of the quarterback position, Mekhi Wingo, without a doubt, the most important transfer to this entire team. And maybe outside of Jayden, like the most important player to the team overall. Like it's very close. He's been a godsend.
He has been, and when he decided to transfer in, we talked about it time and time again. And going back to what you said about a defensive tackle not really ever going to get a ton of love. He was the highest rated transfer of any player that came in, and so he had some hype coming in. But because of the position, a lot of us just didn't talk about it as much. And then you have Mason Smith go down, somebody that you're counting on, somebody that's going to be a force on this defensive line. And Wingo has absolutely stepped up. I mean, every time that we sit here and we look at the chart, he's like the leader in plays and snaps for the team. And that's usually a position, like even if you're, an All-American like Glenn Dorsey, you still typically rotate some, but they just don't right now have that ability because of some injuries. He's your second highest graded player on the defense in this game. He continues to show he can be a dominant force.
So I wanted to mention him. Jake, what did you think of the running back position as Josh Williams, excellent once again. Armani Goodwin, explosive in his touches. Emery was out for the game, so you get one back, you lose another guy. But the runs that stand out to me with Williams, there was the 3rd and long where he fights off what would have been a TFL, and he makes it 4th and 1 for the huge 4th down conversion, which ends up being the score to make it 24-20. It's absolutely massive. I always think about the Clyde quote, throw your heart across the line sort of play right there. And then there's a couple more that I missed. What do you think about the running back group overall?
I thought if they had to in this game, they could have run for 300 yards. If that's what the game dictated and you had to grind it out on the ground and you couldn't make plays through the air, they could have run for 300 yards and I think actually done it pretty easily. But look, the game didn't call for that, but Josh Williams continues to be somebody that, I'm a huge fan of his. Yep. I love the way he works. You run for 252. Maybe 300 yards, isn't it? 350. If you need to run for 350, 400. Like, honestly, I was talking to somebody yesterday. You could have ran for whatever you wanted to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you dictated the pace in the run game. And you knew it was probably going to be there because of what Auburn did. But this is a team in LSU that has shuffled some offensive line. They shuffled some running backs because of injury. But I truly think they're finding their stride in the run game.
Yeah.
And Josh Williams is somebody that time and time again, I've said it so many times, when you need a play, when you have to have a trust factor, like he's been the guy in there. So I actually thought the run game, look, Jayden in the run game was fantastic. He graded out at 82% in the run game. Josh Williams was 79%. Armani Goodwin was 77%. So you've got some high production from all 3 ball carriers.
I want to say that there's a 3rd and 1 that Williams got as well that he had no business getting, where he was it was not blocked well at all. He was met in the backfield, and he just kind of like snuck under the tackle and through to get the first down. And again, this is when things were snowballing, and it allowed the momentum to really just crush Ole Miss. So the running back room is fantastic.
I mean, if I would have told you before the game, sorry to cut you off,
go.
That LSU is going to double up Ole Miss in the run game.
No, you would have thought, okay, then LSU wins the game, certainly. But I would have thought that was not very realistic. I didn't think this defense would be able to shut down that run.
Let me ask you this, because it ties into the run game and something I was also thinking about yesterday. All right, so you have bye week and you have Bama. Well, Garrett Dellinger's coming back, you would assume, by that Bama game. I kind of like Will Campbell and Anthony Bradford being next to each other.
Wait, I thought they had Frazier left guard this game at the beginning. Did they switch it up?
You got some clips where you have.
I mean, let's be clear. Bradford is a guard-ass guard. He is so big and so thick that, yes, I love him on the interior there. But sure, I can get behind Bradford. But I mean,
I guess my question is, you've been successful. Like, where do you interrupt that? Do you start Dellinger? Do you rotate him in? Is it a small package?
If Dellinger's healthy, I still think he is easily one of your best 5 linemen.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah.
But you know how it is. Sometimes when you got a mojo going in that group, and you can speak to this way better than I can, when that group is going together, like there's a chemistry there that you try not to break up if you don't have to. So I'm just curious how they're going to implement him into it.
I just still think that pre-Dellinger injury, right? When did Dellinger hurt? Tennessee game, right? Beginning of Tennessee game. Pre-Dellinger injury, I think you were seeing some of that chemistry already being built. Like we talked about, like Mississippi State, the run game starting to pop off later in the game. So no, I'm probably not overthinking it. I'm probably just putting Dellinger right back in at left and Bradford at right.
So yeah, so Frazier, who's your left guard, like Frazier would probably come out. You're putting Dellinger back in his spot, and then
so Campbell, Dellinger, Turner, Bradford, Jones.
Look, and then if Dellinger looks like, hey, he's rusty, you still have Frazier to kind of throw in there.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, make sure Dellinger's healthy. Like, don't put him out there on a bum leg where it is going to be a detriment. But like, if he has had enough time and he feels like 100% like he can be the player that he was, then yeah, I mean, we remember how he was grading out. That's the guy that you need to have on the field. But again, not if he's not healthy. I'm probably excited to talk more O-line tomorrow after I get to watch the film again tomorrow. But obviously that's a group that just continues to improve. And it's not like they are, this year at least, one of like the best offensive lines in the country. They certainly have the potential to be going forward, but like they are good. They're not bad. The idea entering the year is that they were going to be bad, right? And that certainly is not the case. We got to talk more. I mean, we got to talk more Jayden Daniels.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
well, man. He, for the second game in a row, was his pre-snap recognition continues to improve, working through his reads, the decisions about when to run, when to trust his receivers, and more than maybe any other game this year, Jake, I felt like by the end of the game, all of that was clicking where when he is in rhythm, then you know you're done. Like if you're the opponent and Jayden Daniels is hitting his back foot and getting rid of the ball, you know you're in trouble. Because early on, it seemed like Ole Miss was prioritizing, okay, we're just gonna rush 3 and we're gonna just play a ton of coverage and we're gonna make Daniels kind of decipher it. And early on it wasn't bad, but wasn't great. By the end of that game, I mean that thing was as soon as he hit his back foot, bam, ball coming out, bam, ball coming out. And as always, in the big moments, the guy that had a drive moments on the third downs, he just continues to excel. And it's a good job by Mike Denbrock, right? You know, we criticize when criticism's due, and thus we should give credit when credit is due. And Mike Denbrock has done a fantastic job of continuing to learn his personnel, continue to learn what Daniels does and does not like, and trying to put them in positions to succeed.
I think you're exactly right, T, about what he likes and doesn't like, because you have to make your quarterback comfortable. You go to him, hey, what do you feel comfortable about? What plays do you feel like are every time going to be there? You feel like you can read those plays, whatever it might be. Like we're starting to see Kayshawn on crossers, and that's where he has made his most hay. Like you look at the game, he set the SEC record, 300-plus yards against Ole Miss a couple of years ago. It was on crossers.
Yep.
Like that's what it was. And so that is something that Kayshawn can thrive in. He is a guy that after the catch is really, really dynamic. And it might not be going out there and running deep post or, deep corner routes or whatever it might be. Like that might not be his game. And so you're starting to see not only what Jayden Daniels likes, but what the rest of this offense likes. Like, hey, what do you thrive at?
Yeah.
Okay, you thrive here. We're going to put you in positions. And you also have to be careful there because you don't want to create tendencies. And so it's coming from different formations, different places on the field. And it looks like they finally kind of honed in on exactly what everyone likes to do. You see Brian Thomas out there running, obviously, the routes that are going to stretch the field.
Let him take the top off. Let him take the top off. He'll draw penalties. He'll make big plays. Same thing with Dre.
Even like with Mason Taylor, who we were joking early in the season because he had so many targets. Well, now they're starting to find, okay, those targets and things that he likes to do and things he does well, not just targets to be targets.
Mason Taylor blocks, too.
Yeah,
which I like.
That's why he was in. I mean, initially, that's why he was in there.
Yeah, like he go look back on one of the Daniels rushing touchdowns, and it is an excellent block by Taylor on the edge that allows that thing to get in there.